Welcome back, everyone, to the second ever Road Team podcast on Penguin Pods, the premium Canadian Football League podcast. I'm your host here today. We're sponsored by no one yet. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about the Week 13 matchups, the Labor Day weekend, the Wild West standings, and of course, our Week 14 picks. So without further ado, let's just get started. First game of the Labor Day weekend was Ottawa at BC. Touchdown Pacific in a 38-12 win for the BC Lions. A much-needed win to get themselves out of the loss column, as I believe they lost 5 in a row prior to that game. BC, we saw the Nathan Rourke that we expected to see a couple weeks back when he originally started. Huge. Absolutely had a massive game and looked good the whole time. 325 yards, 3 touchdowns. This is the guy that we remember, and that was a big game. Important, Justin McGinnis and Alexander Hollins both making trips into the end zone. That's big to have your your top 2 guys. I know Hatcher's technically, you could argue that he's better than, but I'm not going to get into that. I think that McGinnis and McGinnis is number 1, Hollins number 2 right now, and it's really good to get those guys into the end zone. So huge there. William Stanback with a pretty big game himself. He had 171 total yards on 26 touches, and he's been having a really, really nice season. BC was rolling on all cylinders. Pretty much the only poor thing that happened was the simple fact that they allowed a fake punt, which was a little embarrassing. But other than that, they steamrolled over Ottawa 38-12. The crowd was into it the whole time, obviously in BC's favor as the game was played in Victoria. Just big. In terms of Ottawa-wise, Eli Stove, rookie from Auburn, making his first CFL appearance, had a pretty solid game. He had 8 receptions for 73 yards on 9 targets. Drew Brown definitely didn't look as sharp as he did the week before. The Ottawa defense did not look that sharp, if I'm being fully honest with you. Ottawa was missing Braylon Addison and Jalen Acklin on the offensive side of the ball, which doesn't explain the defensive problems, but BC figured them out, and I think honestly, one of the biggest things about this game was penalties. Ottawa, 12 penalties for 144 yards. It's very hard to do that and win on the road. It was a road game. Let's just be real. So, as we go into our second game, the Labor Day Classic Winnipeg versus Saskatchewan, where the Blue Bombers sneak away with a 35-33 win. We had the privilege of going live and reacting to that game on the Penguinville channel. Make sure you subscribe to that. But this game featured some early back and forth between both teams. We had a nice touchdown, I believe, by Sean Bain in the back of the end zone. And then we had Nick Dembski touchdown. We went back and forth a couple of times. But then the game kind of changed. Ball went off of Mario Alford, Saskatchewan's returner's hands, recovered by Nick Hallett in the end zone for a Winnipeg Blue Bomber touchdown for them to take the lead. A massive swing in momentum. And that was the second week in a row where Winnipeg scores a touchdown on special teams. I had the Winnipeg Blue Bombers defense in fantasy, so that helped me out very much because that was needed points there. And Winnipeg would follow that up with another drive right before halftime where there would be pass interference in the end zone. They would score on a 1-yard rushing touchdown by Chris Strevler. That would be his second rushing touchdown of the game. The problem was that Zach Collaros on that pass that got them to the 1-yard line was hit in the shoulder/head area by Miles Brown of the Rough Riders. It was called roughing the passer. The penalty was declined because there was also pass interference. But Zach Collaros would exit the game and he would not be seen with pads on for the remainder of the game. Chris Strevler would have to come in, and that is where things changed. Currently, Zach Collaros is questionable to play in the Banjo Bowl. But that would be big. The Riders got themselves back into it. Winnipeg didn't really put together too many sustainable drives on offense. They had a couple nice drives. One that was started by a nice Nick Dembski gain. They kicked a couple of field goals, but Saskatchewan took over, and they got themselves and clawed themselves back into this game. And we had the Keyshawn Johnson drive. I think Keyshawn Johnson had 4 catches in one drive, with his final one being a 6-yard touchdown in the right corner of the end zone. So Keyshawn Johnson making himself known. Big games by Keyshawn Johnson and Dante Myers, Keon Schaefer-Baker. CJ Emilus had I just said CJ Emilus. That's a rapper. I love you, CJ Emilus. Samuel Emilus had a... That's hilarious. Samuel Emilus had a respectable game as well, and Sean Bain, touchdown. I mean, Saskatchewan's got a legit receiving corps. But anyway, their playmakers helped get themselves back into the football game, and they were able to make it pretty interesting come late, where it was 35-27 with under 2 minutes to play. The Riders faced with a potential loss on third down, backs against the wall. Trevor Harris unloads to Samuel Emilus down to the 1-yard line to set up a Trevor Harris rushing touchdown with just 14 seconds to go. The game was made 35-33, but Winnipeg's defense would make a massive stop where Tony Jones got in the throwing lane of Trevor Harris and swatted the ball into another universe. Okay, he didn't really do that, but he knocked the ball down. Clearly got in the throwing lane and could have had an interception, but it doesn't matter. He just needed to knock the ball down. Made it 35-33. The game looked to be over, but Brett Lawler and the Rough Riders special teams tried out there. They tried out there to try to recover an onside kick. He kicks the ball high up into the air, and Roland Milligan goes and gets to it. Makes first contact with the ball. It's recovered by Adam Auclair, the fullback, and the Riders take over with 11 seconds left. Then Trevor Harris gets picked by Evan Holm the following play, but there's pass interference, so the ball gets placed where the I forget exactly what yard line. Let's do simple math right here. 52 plus 8 is 60. So I believe the ball got placed at the Winnipeg 52-yard line, which set up a 60-yard field goal attempt by Brett Lawler that was short. 35-33, a thriller. Winnipeg goes and jumps Saskatchewan in the standings, and the winner next week will win the season series. Big. Toronto at Hamilton, the most important game of the week because the Ticats are coming back. They're going to make the playoffs. 31-28, Hamilton victory. This game was all Ticats from the very beginning, but Toronto did convincingly come back in this one and almost had it. But from the beginning, Richard Leonard on the second play of the game with a huge interception and a ball, I believe, targeting DeMonte Coxey. Toronto would challenge. They would fail. There was no pass interference on the play. And then, following that, Bo Levi Mitchell, bomb to Tim White. Quickly, 7-0. Then the Ticats got to stop, put together another very, very nice drive where they'd go the full length of the field, just about, not quite, but they'd go far down the field. And Talia Tagovailoa would go and get his first CFL touch and touchdown, and a 5-yard rushing touchdown to put the Ticats up even more. Then Tim White said, the first touchdown wasn't enough. I'm going to catch a 70-yard bomb from my boy Bo Levi Mitchell, and we're going to add to this score. And that's what happened. And the Ticats got out going. They had a big lead. The defense was playing well. But then Toronto said, nah, we're not going to have that happen. We saw a lot of Chad Kelly getting the ball out of his hands very quickly. The Hamilton defense could not do pretty much anything about it. Heavy diet of DeMonte Coxey and DeVaris Daniels. DeVaris Daniels would score a touchdown. The game would be 27-15, where they would go for 2, and Jamal Peters with the play of the hour, which stopped Chad Kelly just inches shy of the goal line to prevent the 2-point conversion attempt, which would be proved to be very important. Toronto would continue their late momentum into the second half, where Chad Kelly would do more of the same, and Toronto would get back in the game, taking a 28-27 lead in the fourth quarter. The Ticats would have a rouge on a punt to tie it up 28-28. And then a huge 55-yard Mark Leggio field goal would put the Ticats up late in the fourth quarter, where the Ticats defense with about 2 minutes left would get a quick 2-and-out stop A sack and a forced incompletion that was nearly an interception. And then the Ticats, unlike the previous week, stepped up and took care of business. My boy Greg Bell, a dog. Greg Bell, Ante Litre, the run game, take care of business. And then Bo Levi Mitchell puts the ball in the hands of Brandon O'Leary Orange to ice the game. Give me the Hamilton Tiger Cats going to the playoffs at 3-9 with their big third win of the year and season series win over Toronto. Our final game, Edmonton and Calgary, a good one, an important one, with Edmonton just sitting one game back of Calgary in the win column. They would come out and not be firing because this game started out insanely slow. Edmonton had 3 singles in the first half of this game. It was 6-3 at one point. But then McLeod Bethel Thompson, who said, I am that guy. I know that Trey Ford is a dog, but I can be too. Goes out and throws for 486 yards. 14 shy of 500. Gets the job done. Puts up 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 1,000-yard receivers, including Tevin Jones, Curly Gittins, and Eugene Lewis. A huge 208-yard game from Tevin Jones. And my only gripe with this game was that he was mocking Reggie Begelton's little fishing celebration, which is like my favorite celebration of all time. So Tevin Jones, you're not the better 84. You had a good game, but that's not respectful, okay? It's not respectful. Nonetheless, he got the talk. He got to ice the game at the end, but we'll get to that in a second. But he had a massive game, had a couple of deep plays, picked up a fumble, and advanced it a long ways. And Edmonton's going to go on and win this game because Jake Mayer and the Calgary offense could not get anything going. And when they did, Jake Mayer turned the ball over. 4 interceptions, 2 to Luciez Purifoy, and 2 to Devondrick Bynum. So a rough game for Calgary. Reggie Begelton had a nice game, 7 receptions for 118 yards. So thank you, Reggie Begelton. You're on my fantasy team. I appreciate that. This game was all Edmonton. Calgary made it interesting at the very end. Peyton Logan with a huge 104-yard punt return for a touchdown late in the game. But McLeod Bethel Thompson finds Tevin Jones. And unfortunately, he'd go fishing again for a 73-yard touchdown to ice this game. Edmonton wins it 35-20. Edmonton goes to 4-8. Calgary is 4-7. I think that's the right records. I think I really should have confirmed that before doing this. So we're just gonna pull up the standings right here because we're mad professional. Yes, Edmonton's 4-8. Calgary's 4-7. Edmonton plays Calgary next week. So huge game coming. Big win for Edmonton. And that is the games. That was our Week 13 Labor Day weekend recap. Now, the topic at hand, the Wild West. The standings are absolutely insane right now. Winnipeg, after starting the year out 0-4, are now 6-6 with the season series win over BC, who was also 6-6. They have the first spot in the West. BC following at 6-6 at number 2. Saskatchewan, after holding that number 1 spot for a while now, have I don't remember when the last time Saskatchewan's won a game. They're 5-6-1, falling to that massive. They're number 3, knocking on the door right behind them are Calgary and Edmonton at 4-7 and 4-8. They play each other, so one of those teams is going to advance to 5 wins next week. I don't know what to think of the West right now. I think Winnipeg is an obvious playoff team, but their offense is questionable. There's concerns there. The receiving core isn't always consistent. Brady Oliveira has been Brady Oliveira this entire year. He didn't really get involved too much in the Labor Day Classic, but that's okay. He was used as a decoy and was very effective as being a decoy. But Kalaris definitely has not played his best this year, and he's injured right now. So I want to say Winnipeg, defensively, Winnipeg's defense I think is the best defense in the league. I think they have the roster to be a definite playoff team, and they do occupy the number 1 spot in the West. And if they do beat Saskatchewan, then they have season series wins over BC and Saskatchewan, which would be massive. However, I don't know how I feel about them. BC's interesting because if Nathan Rourke plays like he does here, or if Vernon Adams comes back, which he should very soon, which that's going to be a quarterback controversy. Our last week's episode was, is BC okay? I think the answer is yes. I said I don't know last week. I think the answer is yes. If you get consistent quarterback play, you have the offensive weapons to work. The defense is a little concerning at times, but there's definitely playmakers on that defense. A little lackluster in the return game this year. Terry Williams hasn't done as, I think, well as I would expect him to, but that's not a huge thing, especially Sean Weitzman money, kicking-wise. Flintoff's punted well. I don't know why I'm diving into BC special teams right now. But BC has a solid roster with obvious holes. But if you have a good quarterback, if BC's quarterback position provides for them, they're going to be a playoff team, hands down. Saskatchewan, I think, does 1,000% have the team. I was very critical of them at the beginning of this year. About not being good and having obvious holes. I don't really think they have too much of a run game right now. And obviously, A.J. Ouellette's been hurt, but even when A.J. Ouellette's played, they haven't really ran the rock that well. Their receiving core is really, really good. We listed the 5 names that they have. Trevor Harris is a good quarterback who can win you a Grey Cup. Defense has some really good pieces on it. I love Roland Milligan, but there's elite pieces all over that defense. Marcus Sales had a big interception in the Labor Day Classic game. Micah Johnson, who played offensive line in the Labor Day Classic, is one of the best interior pieces in the league. You have a good team, but I don't know. I don't know. They just keep inventing new ways to lose games, heartbreaking ways to lose games. So to be honest, I'm not entirely sure. Calgary is number 9 on power rankings right now, and they decide sometimes we want to play football, and other times they decide we don't want to play football. So I don't see them as a playoff team. However, they're weird. They're interesting. They definitely have, every team I think this year has significant pieces on their team. Jake Mayer, I think, is the biggest question mark in terms of can he play well consistently. I'm not huge on the Jake Mayer train. Your receiving core is a little bit on the weaker side. If I'm going to be fully honest, Ishmael Hyman, good add. You have Beggleton. You have Jalen Philpott, who solid playmaker, but not going to get the ball a ton. You have some pieces there. Marky Michel's been pretty quiet recently. Running game is interesting. Kylan Hill, who I forgot to mention in the Edmonton-Calgary game, had a pretty big presence in the receiving game, 6 balls for 78 yards. But Kylan Hill has provided some sparks. I think Calgary is, the worst team for sure in the West. But you beat Edmonton and you get yourself back into things. They've always just stayed in the middle of things this year. So I would put them down. And then we have Edmonton, who I think has a very, very solid roster. I think they do give up too many big plays on defense, but they have a very solid roster, a very, very solid football team. I love their receiving core. I think it's very, very good. Tevin Jones is fitting very nicely. Curly Gittins is Mr. Reliable. Dylan Mitchell's been pretty quiet as of late, but he's Dylan Mitchell. Eugene Lewis, that veteran presence. You have good players on that team. The run game, you have a 3-headed monster in Javon Lee, Kevin Brown, and Justin Rankin. Edmonton's scary, and if Edmonton's able to get a win here, don't let Edmonton get hot, because either quarterback, McLeod Bethel Thompson, we saw him start this year at 0-7, but a lot of those games were very close games. Trey Ford, we know what we could do, and I think Trey Ford's an obvious upgrade, but you have 2 really good quarterbacks, and I honestly think you could argue that they have, it's hard. You could say BC has a better quarterback situation when healthy, and you could say Ottawa has a better quarterback situation when healthy, but it's a pretty good quarterback room there. So, I think Edmonton, right now, if I had to pick my 3 playoff teams, I just feel like Saskatchewan's going to turn it around. But if Saskatchewan turns it around, you would think that the 3 playoff teams would be BC, Winnipeg, and Saskatchewan. If Saskatchewan does not turn it around, Edmonton is going to steal their spot. And I'm honestly not, I've hyped up the Bombers this whole year, but I don't know if they're going to be able to continue this going forward. I think they're evident holes, and they've gotten away with some games they shouldn't have won. I don't think they shouldn't have beat Hamilton the week before, and I'm biased with that, but I don't think they deserve to win that game. And they narrowly held on against Saskatchewan. So I'd honestly, there's no lock right now. There's no lock. Saskatchewan, I think, has the best roster, the most complete roster. If BC has normalcy at quarterback, they're a lock, but we don't fully know that. Winnipeg, if they have normalcy of Zach Collaros, they're a lock, but we don't know that, and we don't even know if he's going to be healthy enough to play. Strevler isn't the best quarterback. I love him as a runner and as a guy who can fun guy to watch, but I don't know. Edmonton's team is sound. It's good, but the interesting thing about all of these teams is there's holes in every single one of them. You could poke holes in every single one of them, and it's not like it's the Winnipeg of the 2019 and 2021. Actually, Winnipeg wasn't even the number one seed in 2019, but it's not like 2021 Winnipeg. They're so much better than everybody else. Everyone's really close. I mean, no one's above 500, so I don't know what's gonna happen. If I have to make my playoffs choices right now, is it wild to be on that Winnipeg hype train this whole year, and then after they've won a ridiculous amount of games straight, go back off of it? I don't know. I think BC is gonna make it. I think Edmonton's gonna sneak in. The safe lock would be to pick Winnipeg, BC, Saskatchewan. I think it's gonna be BC, Edmonton, and either Saskatchewan or Winnipeg. We will see, though. That is my talk, my dialogue. Don't let the Elks get hot. Don't let the Ticats get hot. These West teams, you guys can. I'm going to root for you guys to not do so well, because in the event of a random fourth-team crazy crossover, the Hamilton Ticats are coming for you. They are. But that is my Wild West recap, or not recap, but investigation. Now we'll make our picks real quick, and we'll wrap things up. Our picks for Week 14, tomorrow, Friday. BC taking on Montreal. And I should take Montreal here. Montreal's the better team. I'm not. BC surprise win on the road. Give me the Lions here. Why? I don't know. I just have a gut feeling on this one. There's no legitimate argument that I have that the Lions are going to win this game. Other than I just have a gut feeling that this is going to be the upset of the week. I think the Lions are a very, very good football team, and I think Montreal is going to come out, play them overconfidently. I don't think Montreal is 10-1 good. They've won a lot of games with Davis Alexander that I don't know how they snuck away with wins in some of those games. Cody Fajardo is way better than Davis Alexander. Davis Alexander played phenomenal. I don't want to knock that, but I think BC wins. I think BC wins a 2-score, 10-point game. Toronto and Ottawa. Toronto is frauds. You've lost Hamilton twice. Chad Kelly, I'm not convinced. He's definitely a dual threat guy, and that's huge. Much better than either Cameron Dukes or Nick Arbuckle, but I don't know. That roster to me doesn't seem. The Toronto secondary is nice. It doesn't seem like a complete roster. Coxie and Daniels, it's just them really. You have David Unger, who had a nice game against the Ticats, but is he consistently getting involved? Not really. Kevin Meitel is a piece that you can always get involved, but I'm not huge on them. And I think Ottawa's going to rebound. They're back at home. They have something to play for in terms of they want to make sure they can lock down a playoff. I'm pretty sure they're confident they're going to get a playoff spot, but lock down their supremacy over Toronto. Give me Ottawa in this one. I think by about 2 scores. Little Labor Day Classic rematch, otherwise known as the Banjo Bowl. I had this game circled on my calendar for months. I knew it was going to be awesome, especially as Winnipeg started getting better and Saskatchewan started kind of not playing too well. Big game in Winnipeg. I don't know if Zach Collaros is playing, if Strevler is playing. My goodness. I think it's going to be a close game regardless. This game's going to be close, and I think Strevler can put up some points if need be, or if they go another direction. But I'm going to have to. I don't know, man. I don't know. Now with Kolaros out, I originally had Winnipeg winning this game 110%. Give me the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Give me the Roughriders. I've talked myself out of it. I went into this episode on my notes sheet. Winnipeg was the clear winner. I've talked myself out of it. Give me the Riders in a very, very, very close game. Which, close games have not gone their way this year. So maybe, I don't know, dude. We're just going to go with the Riders. Final matchup, Calgary-Edmonton. This one's a no-brainer. It's away from McMahon Stadium, which is the only place where the Stampeders even know how to play football. Edmonton's at home. They're on fire. I know it's difficult to beat the same team twice in a row, but give me the Edmonton Elks in a win. I don't know. Maybe win by a touchdown. Maybe it's more than that. I guess I have somewhat close games, but also not close at the same time. But yeah, those are my picks for this week. Comment down below if there's more than 2 people that watch this. If you end up making it this far, which you probably haven't, but if you have, comment down below what your picks potentially could be for this week and what you think about who's going to come out of the West, because it's all over the place right now. As a Ticats fan, how I want this week to go, I mean, I do want BC to beat Montreal. Actually, it technically would be better if Montreal beat BC. Well, it doesn't matter. Montreal, it doesn't matter. I need Ottawa to beat Toronto, though. Need Ottawa to beat Toronto, and I mean, it would be better, I guess, if Winnipeg beat Saskatchewan, but at the same time, maybe not. Saskatchewan did. There's a tie in there. Yeah, I just started talking about something that I wasn't prepared to talk about, and unpreparedness leads to babbling. So we're gonna shut up now. Calgary and Edmonton. I don't know. I don't know which team it's better to win that game. But anyway, thank you guys for watching or listening to the Road Team Podcast, sponsored by no one yet on Penguin Pods. Have a wonderful evening or morning, or whenever you watch this. It's Penguin Pods signing off. See you guys.